beachfront property in Gulf Shores. That's Cory.
Yeah.
Right? This is what he does all the time. Who started just flipping lots, working in the kitchen, worked his way up to management. We're actually going to talk about this later today. Got into real estate and just has kind of hustled, grinded another step by step, right, to become a net worth millionaire, which I think is a lot of people in this room. And so there's different ways to do this thing. And we always want to learn from and have people in the room that are in the game, because this game moves pretty quickly, right? So,
quick.
Who am I? My name is Justin Myers. I started as a mortgage broker in 2005 in Tampa. So I had a front row seat to watching the whole economy meltdown. That was the third hardest hit market in the country. I was 25 years old when 37% of the equity evaporated overnight, which put me on this journey of, I like making interesting choices, moving, start my life over, got divorced. Come on in, Nikita. There's a couple seats. There's a seat right up here next to these two handsome gentlemen.
We got 3 seats.
Okay, well,
1, 2. We got
I
some
see one over
spots.
there. I see one.
Yep.
I see 2 on the side. Good to see you, Dion. And I am really I've done a lot of things here. I run a real estate team here with Cory. We also are real involved in the community. So if you're around tomorrow, we started Pints for Purpose. So we'll be raising money for the Humane Society at Yeehaw Brewing. That is open to anyone in the community. Really passionate around network and education, right? I think real estate is how you create, it's how we all have access to wealth in this country. Realistically, if you look at the gap, right, the wealth gap in this country is directly tied to home ownership. Across any demographic level, it's totally tied to home ownership. So we want to get you in here, give you the tools to go build some personal wealth, right, on our residential side, and then build out, show everyone how to invest and create wealth in real estate, because long term, it's one of the safest, most stable ways to do
Safest bet
so.
you can make, for sure.
Want to
Tell me around the
hear
room.
about you. So, who are you? What do you do? Who do you need to know? And here's what this looks like effectively, right? We're talking about prospecting, marketing, and networking. I'm sure all of us do 17 things, right? And yet, when I come to these things, I'm looking for one specific thing, right? Hey, my name is Justin. I am looking for lots in East and South Knoxville. I'm a local realtor. Because that's a message that I find people come and talk to me. If I'm looking for those lots, and I also work with luxury, and if you need a cabin, and it gets washed out. So we're going to start right up front. Who are you, and what are you looking for?
I'm a realtor in Knoxville at EXP Realty, and I've been a realtor for 4 years. I would love to learn more about investing my own money, but I would really like to do a fix and flip.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here, Sandy.
I'm Kathy Wietrick, and I'm a realtor with Justin and Cory here at Keller Williams. And this is all so new to me, and I never even dreamed of investing until Keller Williams gave me a vision. And I would love to either flip or buy and hold. And that's probably going to be my retirement.
Awesome. I love it. Allison.
Hey there, I'm Allison. I'm from Independence Title. Who do I need to know? I need to know real estate agents and lenders. Also, you mentioned at the last closing that you were at that a lot of title companies don't know how to work with wholesale and things like that. We do know how to do that. So if you guys have any questions, you can definitely come to us.
Thank you. Jeremiah, who are you?
Jeremiah Holmes, wholesaler, investor. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Sweet.
On my flip.
Good. Glad you're here, Jeremiah.
Hi, I'm Jade. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm on Cory and Justin's team. I have one investment property right now. I'm still working on it, and I guess I would like to know other investors, and I'm really just in the education process right now. So.
Good evening. Name's Tristan Russo. I'm currently getting my real estate license as we speak. Should have it done in about 2 months, is what I'm estimating. So coming to the meetings, learning as much as I can, meeting as many people as I can.
Glad you're here, Tristan. Nick, who are you?
I am Nick Wilson. I am completely new to this. This is my second meeting, and my wife and I are in the education phase. We are absorbing all of the things that you need to know about real estate in order to invest in real estate. So really, I'm excited for this particular presentation because this is one of the ground floor items that we're looking at. So.
Sweet.
Glad you're here.
Love it.
My name is Mateo.
Ain't no
Micro Realtors Advantage Plus. My purpose here is I just want to learn everything and just build my foundation. I'm Spanish speaking. I speak Acateco. It's a Mayan dialect. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, but my parents are from Guatemala. But I'm just driven to help people, and that's all.
We're so glad you're here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mucho gusto.
Gracias.
Yeah, my name is Patrick. I'm actually a new real estate agent as well. I've been licensed for a little less than 2 months now. And I'm here because I want to learn about investing. I've done a little bit on my own, been a little lucky, but I just want to know how to do it properly over and over. So.
Awesome. For the many agents that are here today, welcome. We're glad you're here, right? We're in the only industry where your success is really dependent on your collaborators, your other agents. So that's why we invite so many of you here. And Dion has a service for all of y'all.
Yeah, I do sign up. It's a real estate running service, so I put your signs up, save time. We're gonna meet realtors that are looking to leverage their business. Also do marketing, what they do to that.
Good. Glad you're here.
I'm Brianna. I take my real estate test tomorrow morning.
Yeah, let's go.
You got
Love
that.
it.
I'm accompanying Dion.
No, glad you're here.
That's awesome.
My name is Vic Toms. I'm here just to learn what I can about investing, and thanks to running into Justin a couple of days ago, and he invited me. So.
Glad you're here. It's good to see you.
My name is Kevin Lupar, not a professional of this market. I'm a grad research assistant in energy materials. I'm French, and I'm looking for a fixer upper.
Excellent. I love it.
Welcome, Kevin.
You're up, Jesse.
My name is Jesse Houston. I'm with Bain Realty. I'm a property manager. I started off managing my own properties, and one thing led to another. We're over a dozen now, and so now we're at a point where we can start scaling. So I'm actually beginning to market. And I'm a finance geek, and I got into this because I figured out that I just really like giving people a home and really like helping serve people. And I think one thing that I can do that a lot of folks can't is because I'm a finance geek and very good at Excel and spreadsheets and fun, boring stuff like that. I can help you figure out if a deal is actually a good deal up from a return perspective, just relative to what other opportunities that are out there. What I need right now is I would really love to meet an investor with maybe a small portfolio, say 2 to maybe half a dozen properties, thereabouts. And I think at this moment, that's probably where my sweet spot is.
Cool. Glad to have you.
There is, if you guys just came in, there's 2 seats. There's that tall one and the short one right up front here. If you want to grab a seat, it's going to be a long. Come be comfortable. Please come sit down, or I'm going to go get up and go get more chairs, guys.
Make yourselves comfortable. Sure.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jesse.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse.
Yes.
I appreciate it. We got the back.
Hi guys, my name is Prasanna Bhate. I'm a scientist at the Oak Ridge National Lab, and I'm probably a potential investor. So I'm here to meet with realtors and property managers and such, and to most importantly to learn.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
I'm Nikita Hudson. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams, and I found who I needed at the last meeting, so thank you.
Hey.
And I'm doing my first flip, so pray for me.
Let's go.
I'm Joel Reyes. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm here to learn how to find deals.
Glad you're here.
Dalton, you want to chime in? Who are you?
My name is Dalton Bradley. I'm the creative director at a company called Horizon Media Group, and I'm here to video and cover the whole event today. As you can see, I've got Cory and Justin up there mic'd up so that we can hear them clearly, so that we can get some entertaining and educational clips out on socials, as well as like a full version of this meeting on YouTube to watch later.
So if you want to market effectively, Dalton also does the real estate photography, videography, editing, and they have some follow-up services. So if you've got a database, they can help you create a touch contact plan to follow up with that. Yes.
My name is Michelle Mobley, and I hope to invest in my first property this year.
Hi everyone, my name is Keller Williams. I'm currently in high school, planning to graduate early in December to start my real estate journey.
Yes!
I'm an AW agent here. My name is Amber, and I specialize with working with the military.
Wait in the back!
Michelle, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, jump in.
My name is Will Sargent. I work, I'm a loan officer at Foundation Mortgage, and working with investors, refinance, purchase, do the SCR stuff, do the whole gamut. But I'm really here to learn for myself. So.
Love it. Welcome.
Jackson Kirkpatrick. I sell insurance for Allstate Property Casualty. I do work with lenders and loan officers. I do try to make the process a little smoother with the not so fun part with insurance related, and just here to learn a little bit.
Hi, I'm Krista Bentley. I'm an agent with Keller Williams at this office, just coming to learn. Michelle Goldenkamp, Keller Williams Realtor. My husband and I are getting ready to close on our first flip house, and I'd love to work with other investors.
Love that. Congrats, that's awesome.
Travis Dupre with Keller Williams here in this office. I'm here for networking and learning at the moment.
I'm Crystal Clark. I'm retired military. I'm kind of an accidental investor, and my agent Karen Calloway is here. She's helping me get a roof over my own head, and then I can move into building my own investment portfolio later on this year.
I'm Zach Darrow. I own Dunray Holloway. We do demolition, junk removal, material hauling, and dumpster rentals. I'm also looking for a primary residence, preferably the Maryville area. So.
Jason Fields, devoted home group here at Keller Williams. We've got a team. I've done flips. Something that I would like to get into are storage units. So if you know anybody looking to sell, send them my way.
All right, Justin Reblitis with First Call Claims. I'm a public adjuster, so I hope you guys don't ever have to call me. But if you have a insurance claim, or a fire, anything like that, we will walk you through that whole process and make sure you get all the money you need to rebuild or move on.
Love it. We need to chat later.
Yeah.
Just made a little note. Absolutely.
My name's Chris Davis. I run Approach Lending in Knoxville. I lend private money on behalf of our family office here locally. We mostly lend local until about 2 months ago. I did a deal for him in Florida, I did that with Georgia, North Carolina. Pretty much if it's a southern city, well-run, conservative state, we kind of like it. Demographics are good. So, yeah, I think we got a pretty good product, and I'll just talk to you about it.
I'm Gregory Crane. I'm a note buyer, so looking for seller finance, privately held mortgage notes that people might need to get a payout for. So looking to network with realtors, wholesalers who might need to sell a note that they have to carry back because they couldn't sell it. So.
Cool.
Sean Barker. I deal with land, so I'm always looking for 15 acres or more. I work with developers nationwide to find tracts of land for home development, high density residential stuff. I also do smaller stuff or timber.
Cool.
Awesome. So I'm Trent Rogers, my wife Haley. I recently made the career switch to go real estate full time, passed my test, sort of shopping brokers right now, I guess you might say.
Keller Williams.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bias in there.
Success leaves clues.
But, you know, I think a lot of us can relate. My breakdown right now is deal flow, is finding deals. You know, we've kind of gone through the education, the analysis paralysis. We're kind of at the other end of that now where it's like, okay, let's just freaking go. And we've been banging our head against the wall for probably 6-8 weeks now, just trying to find out. Buy box is pretty particular. We like Blount County, you know, Louisville, Greenback, Friendsville, Maryville, of course. So just looking to had to trip over a deal or two along the way.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'll close it out. I'm Karen Callaway. Yes, I am Crystal's agent. I'm a real estate agent at Keller Williams, work out of the Bearden office. Mostly I do first-time home buyers and then the downsizers in my demographic that are getting out of the great big Farragut houses and want a single level in Telco Village. So there you go. But I am planning to become an investor myself this year, so just here for the education and the networking.
Love it.
It's amazing. Welcome, everybody. That's awesome. Legalese.
Legalese. Invest at your own risk, right? Real estate investing. What is going on? Welcome, my friend. There's 2 seats up here. If you guys want to grab them.
Back, couple up here.
Yeah, please. Introduce your Charles, who are you? We're just going through.
I'm just lucky to be here, my friend.
So Charles runs an investor meetup. If you want to plug it real fast, it was last night.
Yes, Sono Investor Group. We usually hang out and drink beers, talk real estate, and other kind of investing.
A great hub if you want to know what's happening in South Knoxville. There are a lot of exciting things that are going to continue to happen in South Knoxville. Charles is an expert there, so he's somebody that I'd go to if you want to know what is happening, if you want to get involved in the community, understand that the business. He's been invested there, and he's been a giant advocate for it for years. Great guy. Yep, we were out there last night, met some friends. Want to introduce yourself really quickly?
My name is Khalil. I'm just a local investor, just trying to learn.
Excellent. You have some deal flow right now?
Working on it.
Okay, good. That's why we're all here. Fantastic. Cool. Legalese?
Legalese, a little bit here.
Okay, so investing is a real estate investing, I heard people talk about flipping, is a high risk, high reward business. Right? Flippers like to come in and tell the 10 times they made money this year, not the one deal that like offset 2 or 3 of those deals.
Yeah.
Cory's got a flip he's going on right now. How far to go over budget this
Double. Probably double. Yeah, it was a $50K initial budget, and we're gonna hit $100K, whether I like it or not.
Yes.
It is what it is. You buy historic homes, you get historic problems. It just comes with it, right?
So verify everything here, right? We're going to give you great advice, like you're going to invest at your own risk, and we're not experts on everything, and we haven't vetted every single person that's in this room, right? We're collectively trying to get some things, and definitely want to get professional advice when it comes to taxes, when it comes to the law, and some other things we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep.
So
kind of.
Let's set the stage, right? We've got a room full of a lot of investors and a lot of real estate agents.
Yep.
So we're covering both. So if you're in those, you are in the sales and marketing business. And we are going to talk about a framework that's going to work for both. If you're an agent, the idea is your agent business should be your cash ATM, and it should be an attraction, right, for your acquisition arm. If you're an investor, the same thing. You are in a sales and marketing business.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, really, I guess really what that means you're looking to wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold. Nothing really happens until got the lead, right? I've got a number, I've got something to kind of work with here to run down. And so really that only comes through those activities based around like prospecting, networking groups, say like this, and then just active marketing. And we're going to kind of break down some of those systems along the way.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the biggest thing and the biggest challenge when we're new, right, is how am I being purposeful? Like, do I have some sort of return on my activities? Do I have some sort of metrics? If you're analytical, do I have a key performance indicator? Like, how do I know if I'm being successful in my activities? Like, where the deals are coming from and how I'm sourcing them? Because it's a lot of fun for me to go hang out and talk with investors if I can do that all day and not necessarily be the guy getting the business or the gal getting the business, right? So how am I being purposeful? How am I achieving that objective? Like we talked about today, when I come in here with an elevator pitch, like I find that attracts people to me, right? Like everyone knows we've been working with Jesse. That's very clear. Like, oh, Jesse's a property manager. Jesse can help you, and he's looking for a 2 to 6 unit portfolio. So that's an order. That's a very clear ask that may pop in my head, a day or a week from now.
Yeah,
yes.
I'd say the focus in there's one line that's like, go small to go big. And I think really that's kind of what this is going to like highlight on, right? Is like the narrower your focus is very much like a laser focus on something, and the smaller you can make that focus, you'll find more opportunities in there versus trying to have necessarily a wide net or a spray and pray. Oftentimes, if the more niche you go into your area or what you're looking for, the more opportunities you're going to create, or at least the ones that you're really looking for, versus stuff that you might just trash and really not.
No, I think that's a great point.
Right.
We're going to come back to that. Yep.
We'll kind of go into some background a little bit on each of us here, right? You want to go back? Who's this kid?
Sure. So that must have been 2011. So I moved here in 2010. I was separated. I was broke. I was probably the only mortgage broker who in 2005 who didn't make any money before the market crashed. I was watching jewelry salesmen and cell phone guys make $19K a month, and I just was not very good at selling those loans to other people.
Yeah.
So when we started this, I ended up starting a marketing company.
Yeah.
And I've tried a little bit of everything along the way, and some of it was good, some of it was bad. If you can be broke for a decade, highly recommend it. When you get, by the time you're 40, you'll know so much you'll be an expert unless you speak on stages, but most of us like making some money, so I wouldn't recommend doing it the long, hard way. What I did find though was going after one niche. I did a sign spinning company, right? Like once you dive in to being an entrepreneur, I remember seeing this, I'd started a transaction coordination company here, and I read an article on Business Insider or something that it was like most entrepreneurs say they wouldn't do it again if they started. But you're in the middle of the channel, so you just have to keep going. So I was like, okay, I'm already doing this. How am I gonna make more money? I had no plan, no ROI, and then I started a sign spinning company on the side, and then I was like, well, how do I do this? I gotta teach myself marketing. So then how do I go sell sign spinning? Well, it's basically impressions. So I'm gonna go talk to radio guys and reverse engineer, and then go find traffic counts, and then go talk to Cricket and Pizza Hut and find out about net 90, getting paid 90 days after you get a contract, and being like, this is a lot of work to make the same amount of money I was making waiting tables. But I got a ton of experience. So we've been, between the two of us, we've tried every entrepreneurial, like now we try to use some other tools here, but in terms of like hustling, bandit signs, standing on the side of the road, producing radio shows, spending money for other folks. We've, I think, tried it all over the years. And Cory's got a very big background in marketing.
Yeah, definitely this
like an institutional level.
Yeah, so the next one, so prior to real estate, I was a manager, owner, operator of a small restaurant franchise down in Florida. So this is actually one of like our Christmas photos. I tried to find a picture of myself on the side of the road wearing a big hot dog suit, like waving it, literally doing the exact same kind of thing. But it gave me a good, interesting perspective on ways of both like attractive marketing as well as like the networking thing of being like super embedded into the community, where like all of our restaurants, now there's 6 of them, are very much hubs of the neighborhoods that they surround. Like that is the go-to spot on Saturday after soccer practice or Friday nights or things like that. Like they just become these like little cultural community centers. After any hurricanes, God, we had like way back, and like places were closed, like all those restaurants become like little hubs and resources, because we would oftentimes like have power and people would come there and hang out, and we could wholesale like our produce and foods through, and like we'd sell groceries
from that location. This is my dad's favorite restaurant. There's 6 locations. One of the locations is my dad's favorite spot down in Florida.
And so that's, I guess, a little bit about my background in terms of it's all been about community-based, just how can I give back, how can we give back and serve, and also do some cheesy shit along the way to attract some impressions and attract some eyes, right, at all. But really, I guess the goal in all this is just to create that cash machine, right? Creating something that's going to be creating predictable opportunities time and time again. And we like to frame that in a topic called zone, right? And we're going to go through kind of what that analogy means here.
Yeah,
Right?
so I think what we do very well is we're going to give you some simple frameworks you can build off of. But the most important thing is that you have predictable revenue. Like, you're running a business. If you're not in here to run a business, it's going to be very challenging. One of the big challenges I had was like, I'm not a salesperson, right? And I was not a salesperson. Hey, money's not that important to me. You know what happens? I did not make a lot of money for longer than almost anyone I've met in this game. Did a lot of interesting things. I mean, lots of people, tens of thousands of dollars, right? Because money wasn't that important to me. And then I watched people that money was important to. They were like, oh, great, yeah, I'll work the easy deals. Good luck with that hard one where you're learning so much and you feel so valuable,
Yeah.
right? So how do we have predictable revenue, right? It's having a predictable system, and then it's going to be measuring. So we're going to talk about what that predictable system looks like. So Cory, how do we zero in on our target market?
Sure. I mean, getting into that, it starts off with just researching and selecting where you want to invest in. Right?
Gotcha. So how, let's say I'm new to this, right? I don't know. There's all of this information. Where would I start in trying to figure out what my niche might be or where I should be going?
So I think we always try to begin with the end in mind. And if we're talking about like investing in properties, really understanding what this long-term game is going to look like for you, or these areas that maybe I want to I'm going to fix and flip over here, but I'm going to buy and hold in this area. Like having a good understanding of where you want to go in the end, and then sort of like working backwards from there.
You know what I'm hearing actually, and it's taking a step back here, is the one thing.
Sure.
So if you haven't read this, it's a book you can get anywhere. Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams, and Jay Papasan wrote it, which is just what's the one thing, right? How do I set a 5-year goal? And how do I work backwards all the way until, like, what are my activities doing today that are going to drive me towards that 5-year goal? By asking just, what's the one thing I could be doing right now that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? So in this case, like having a clear idea, like if I'm looking to retire, hey, do I want to be fixing and flipping and generating earned income that's going to be taxed as earned income? Or do I want to be moving towards some sort of like a hold strategy, even if I have less cash flow, which is going to generate, right, tax benefits, depreciation, right, and is perhaps a better longer term strategy. Like that's so that's it. So let's say, whatever, I've determined we're going to go, for the sake of this, we're going to talk about fixing and flipping, Cory. That's what everyone wants to do because it's fun and exciting and you get big checks until you find out what a pain in the ass it is.
No doubt. Yeah, until the honeymoon phase wears off and you're like, double your time into it and all that kind of stuff, right?
But how would I go find, like, what would I do to research? What are some resources you can use?
There's tools out there. I mean, there's things like KGIS. I hate to be like, I wouldn't say I hate to do it, but like, there are certainly, find you a good agent, right? Find you a good realtor who can really help you like disseminate and dive into this data.
Why do you hate to do that? Find you a good agent. There are people here that will go look for deals for you. Not for free, but on a commission basis, so you don't have to pay them unless they bring you a deal. And they're in this room, and there's 6,000 of them in our MLS. Like, why would you pull your own comps?
Yeah.
The computer's not going to send you a deal one day, but this agent may. Right?
Yeah, and in that, right, the tax records are a very like powerful tool. And I would say as agents, we have like a lot of powerful tools at our disposal, which certainly makes that easy. So if I want to like zero in on this specific area, I can then even highlight all the way down to, okay, these are like my non-owner occupieds. These are people that are like landlords that hold these properties that I might be able to like reach out and market and network to. Or I might be looking for somebody that's lived in a home a long time, right? Like high equity, 30 years plus, lived in the home, probably gonna be a good person to at least want to try to establish communication with to create that opportunity for yourself in the future. Right, so a good agent will help you disseminate and kind of build that list out for you to then go and deploy and start marketing towards.
Some other tools you could use to research if you're trying to determine. I'm trying to think what's accessible to a consumer because I know what I want to look at. I want to look at the city has code violation lists.
Sure.
You can get that information. There's tax delinquency. You can get that information. There's some condemned properties. I think the city is a great resource. There's someone, I can't think of her, they call her the Queen of Blight. There's some programs that the city has where they're trying to get you to come in and renovate. That's a good resource if you're looking to do that. And other investors. Is there anybody that's got a very specific niche that'd like to share how they formed it?
Like finding properties?
Yeah,
I go to my local neighborhood association. We have a resource officer, and they usually tell us where the drug houses are, and we can talk to them. And then they're happy to try to find a buyer for those.
No, I love it, right? We're providing solutions to problems, so you just go, who would know about the problems? People that are embedded in the community. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. Really, the next step there is just developing your value proposition. I'd say
What's a value proposition?
Well, so that's just going to be what am I proposing out there, right? I mean, the most straightforward one is just like we buy houses cash, right? I'll buy your house cash as is, where is. Very straightforward. Everybody uses it. It works. Truly, it does.
Has anybody looked at Open Door or OfferPad or Purple Brick? Anyone ever looked at the websites? Hands? No one?
Yeah, 100%.
Chris has? Take a look at them. They've got a really great value proposition. It's convenience.
Mm-hmm.
There are people, and if they did any research, they would know they're not saving money. Open Door is not charging them lesson fees. They've actually just had to settle. They got sued. They had a lawsuit because their advertising was fraudulent on this stuff. But what they are doing is they're selling convenience. Say that we're going to come here. You don't have to go through the hassle of selling your home. Or people that think they can't possibly sell their home for whatever reason. Those might be there. Yeah.
Sure.
Anybody got it? Jeremiah, what's your value proposition? Jeremiah is a celebrity now. He's got TV ads, and he is a very skilled wholesaler.
My value is like, well, I mean, I will buy your house and I will even pay for closing. So I mean, like in a suggestion, like Open Door, like I'm trying to grow mine to the equivalent of Open Door, but local.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, basically that's pretty much how I do it. What else? Do you have any other like questions?
We're gonna come back to you. I have a lot of questions. We get into some of the more specific prospecting and marketing stuff. Yep.
Yeah, because the next step, once you kind of have figured out what your value proposition is going to be in this, is just starting to build a brand around that, and that may be like your company brand and or just yourself, your personal brand as somebody who's just known in the space for actively doing these kind of deals.
Wish Randy Wagner was here tonight. He does a good job.
Kills it.
But he does a good job of like having a brand,
yeah,
like a recognizable brand and being consistent about it. Jason, what's the Devoted Home Group? What's your brand?
Devoted to our customers, obviously. We're really more family than anything. That's where we're actually going to be. Our YouTube page is getting ready to finally kick off, and then we might be doing a podcast.
Awesome.
Based around family.
Yeah, so Jason and his wife Yvette are right here in our office. They also have a very big Facebook group, so go with Jason if you want to be on this investor Facebook group, and they're going to be starting an in-person meeting, right? Collaboration, right? That's the key. It's not competition, it's collaboration. Yeah,
that's a big one.
Awesome.
Let's talk about
any questions before we move forward?
That,
we can get more specific on building it. So there's a difference between branding and marketing, right? So branding is I'm trying to create an impression in my client's mind, right? So there's a positive association, and that comes through repeated exposure, right? People will go with the things that they're comfortable with, right? So it's repeated exposure to your brand, making the messaging very, very simple, and picking one thing that's the value proposition, right? So just because you're buying homes for cash, I just think about, like, go research Schlitz beer. I talk about this often. Go research Ivory soap. These are people that simply sold the exact same way all soap and all beer is made in the US. They just messaged it like it was something special. Hey, we distill our beer. Ivory soap is pure. And they just explained exactly how they made soap and built an entire brand off of that. Right? So don't be afraid of explaining the obvious. For every realtor, your brand should be, I'm a fiduciary, right? I've got a legal and ethical obligation to put your needs above my own. It's the highest duty recognized under the law. Very few professions in this country have a fiduciary duty. I take it really seriously. So we should sit down and talk so I can figure out what your needs are so I can put them above my own. Like, everyone has that, but not everyone's talking about that. Yeah.
That's a good one. Let's talk about the O.
Yeah.
Owning that mind share of your market. That kind of leads into that branding conversation.
Absolutely, right? So am I talking about this all the time? Do people know what I do? Do my friends and family know what I do? Right? And there's lots of ways, like, do my neighbors know what I do? Do people in this room know what I do? Like, am I talking about this, or am I running some sort of a business in secret? So the very first step is, if you're new, is to start with prospecting. I can't network and I can't market effectively until I have a database. I probably need a database of 500 people, so the only way I'm going to do that is by prospecting. And there's lots of ways you can actually prospect.
Yeah, but let's talk about that. Like, what is prospecting?
Awesome. So prospecting is any sort of outbound activity where I'm looking for people to get in contact with people that I don't already know. right? Where I'm actively out looking for a lead. And what is a lead for us? A lead is someone that has control of a property, right? That's a lead. So I'm looking for someone that has control of a property, because that, as you all know, right, this could be someone who's a landlord, or it could be someone that has a primary residence that maybe needs our services because they can't take care of it, or they're looking to cash out somehow, right? Prospecting is me making offers on property that's listed, right? I'm going out and I'm actively engaging other people.
We just had an interaction with somebody like recently, I feel like, that just kind of like was offering, like they're just like scatter shooting stuff all the time, like ripping 10, 12 offers out like consistently, like low, but it is just
oh,
like
that is
thing.
true.
We were talking about that like
I just
a week or two
had a
ago.
property come in, and this is a national company, and what they're doing is they got an unsolicited cash offer below asking. I know a guy, Andrew Bunkers in Las Vegas, that runs this play, and he says he has like about a 1% acceptance rate to 2% acceptance rates on his offers, but he's looking to buy stuff at 70% of fair market value. He's like, I don't need to get many of them. And then what he does is he buys them with a DSCR loan. Everybody know what a DSCR loan is? Anyone not know what a DSCR loan is? Cool.
Where's our
Great, fantastic.
Where's our loan officer? Q. Will Sargent back there.
Will Sargent,
Will
what's a
Sargent, jump
DSCR
in.
loan?
Debt service coverage ratio. So essentially, you got a mortgage of $1,000. You want to walk on it?
Yeah.
Well, just go stand up or, how are
Come at least where they can see
join
you,
the
buddy.
combo.
I'm not beautiful. So DSCR loan is debt service coverage ratio. Main thing is property needs to appraise for the value that you're buying. Obviously, also the mortgage that you will hold on that property, they need to be able to prove that the income from that property will offset that.
Yes. And I'm going to dumb it down because I'm not very smart, is with a regular loan, they're going to look at your credit. They're also going to look at your ability to replay. With the debt service ratio loan, they're going to look at your credit. Stop me if I'm wrong here, but it's based off of the cash flow of the property.
Credit, assets, no income, no employment.
Yep. So they're not looking at your income, they're not looking at your employment, which as investors, very difficult to prove. Anybody write off too much money and can't take advantage of credit? Yeah, I've learned that lesson. Of like, oh, when you make nothing on paper, no one wants to give you money.
No one wants to give you money.
Imagine that. Yeah. My accountant was way too good. Very much so.
Yeah. You got to future pace that a bit.
So what he's doing is he's acquiring those properties, right? And then he's doing a burst strategy, and he's refining back out his cash. So when he's buying them some low, he refis back out at 75%. They're not looking at his income, they're not looking at his assets. It's very clean. And he's been done that. He's basically rinsed the same $200,000 and acquired 7 properties. And he sourced that by just going to friends and family, putting together a collective, putting all that money in a pool, and then buying it through an LLC.
And who is doing that?
This guy, Andrew Bunkers, my buddy in Vegas.
Okay, cool.
He can talk to us. But it's a play you could run here as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think about that, like a 1 or 2% acceptance rate, and if you were just ripping out 10 contracts like a day, you're locking up something probably every week at that rate, just for like a consistent, like just running that out.
Krista, that listing did you have, are they still, if someone came with a good offer, would they take it? No. Okay, well, anyways, I've seen deals, Krista just had them, there are deals on the MLS, right, I see all day long that do make sense.
Oh yeah.
If you get creative.
Search motivated seller. Like, you'll find it for sure.
So what are we looking? I'm looking at, if I'm prospecting, I could go through neighborhood groups, right? I could be either making offers of the fact like I'm looking for those, or I could be going and directly messaging people. I could be messaging people who are looking to rent out properties as well to see if they might want to lease those out. I can go through any sort of for sale by owner. Those are some other ones that you can go to. And I could also be driving for dollars, right? Our buddy Jason McDaniel is real famous for this. So like I can go around, go door to door. I could talk to for sale by owners. And the same thing, we talked about the neighborhood resource. If you've got a property that's blighted, do you think the neighbors might have an interest in seeing that property be acquired and fixed up? Do you think if you talk to some of the neighbors and you did it correctly, they would try to help you out?
Happily help you.
Give you the story, put you in touch with whoever's cousin's nephew, aunt might have some information about it. Right? Those are some practical ways that we can prospect.
Yeah, to do it a little bit. And to kind of touch on, like cold calling, certainly out there, texting as well, like cold texting, I guess, is certainly a
So we're
feature.
gonna talk about that as well here.
Yeah.
So the FCC, right, has just issued some new regulations. This is from March 16th.
Yeah, this just came out.
there are some hefty fines associated with the do not call list. I've heard a lot of people here bragging about the fact, right, that they don't obey the do not call list, and that's cool. People drive drunk every day, and also I've got a buddy basically ruined his life with DUIs. Like, you know, so there are tens of thousands of dollars in fine associated with the do not call list.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Like in this, where they noted in there, like the article why we highlighted this is like the 500% increase in complaints over years from 2015 to 2022. So it went from like 3,300 to like 18,000 like complaints. So FCC definitely took this serious enough to like start really issuing out.
Who gets robo-text every day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
every single day, right? NARS, somebody's trying to give me insurance. Yeah. You're a real estate agent.
Yeah, every day.
FBI, they're calling to tell you they're arresting you.
Yeah. Yeah, so and actually Jeremiah and I were talking about this because I was excited to have Jeremiah here. Jeremiah, we talked about like having a predictable return. And what I love when I talk to Jeremiah is he can tell you exactly like where his deals come from, what his acquisition cost is, how much it costs him to reach, you know, a prospect via direct mail, via text, via recorded phone call. And we were just having this conversation of, right, you're saying, hey, I'm totally done with the text game because they've made these changes. I'm moving entirely out of this.
My buddy Luke Rivers, I just sat down with him on like 2 days ago for like dinner, and he's telling me that they just changed this. So me, I use texting to wholesale a majority of my deals except for one of them once I hopped on radio. But now I'm in that position where I've made so much off of wholesaling, I don't have to deal with texting anymore. I can switch to more passive deal flow and not have to deal with the risk of getting hit with these fines. It's really not worth it, you know. Plus, I mean, I just got other things going on in my company. I don't have to sit down and market. I can just send it to the passive deal marketing structures. Sure. Still have somewhat of the same deal flow and be able to focus on my midterm operations with like flipping and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if I'm cold calling and if I'm prospecting people, there's ways to do that. You really want to use a do not call list. You want to explore some services. I would practically, if it's me, I probably would go either with a cold realty is one option that'll give you do not call list without a dialer service associated with it, or I'd get a dialer that's going to source that data for me and scrub it. And you could use, really, it's just personal preference on the data, whether you like the interface. There's Mojo, there's RedX, there's Vulcan 7, there's Espresso Agent. I have used all of them at some point over my career and implemented them for somebody. I don't think there's giant differences unless we get into like the quality of the data locally. We can nerd out on that. But just for protection, I would go with one of those routes.
Yeah.
So the TCPA just totally did it in for you.
I just wouldn't do it.
So
I mean, like, all of my deal flow before I hopped on radio came from texting.
Well, that's the world we live in.
Yeah,
Nobody wants
like,
to pick up the phone anymore.
And it sucks,
you know?
but like you can read through it. There's people getting like $40,000.
Oh, there's a known litigator list. There are people that love it, that just love to send out threatening letters and extort you.
I
for
use
money.
like batch leads, so usually that scrubs out most of the litigators. I personally never had anybody try to litigate against me. As soon as they say stop, I'm done.
Yeah, sure.
They automatically get filtered out, so the way that I have my system is completely automated and ran itself. Besides doing pre-qualified leads.
Right.
But anybody that says stop, anybody says do not call, somebody said they reported me to FCC literally the other day. So that's why, I mean, I guess like in a certain sense I'm scared, but if you're gonna do it right. I use a system and a service that you have to be compliant to their rules, which is compliant to like FCC and stuff like that. But if you have a high opt-out rate, it'll completely shut your system down and you won't be able to use it at all. So basically, they're not outlawing it because they can't outlaw a way that people make money completely. I mean, that's not like, you know, like
or the way politicians can.
Yeah, like they're not going to outlaw it completely. They're just going to make it impossible. I promise you. Plus, so many people do it's going to get phased out anyways.
Right.
It's just like mail. So many people did mail. People stopped doing mail, moved to texting. Texting's done. So what are people going to move to now?
Back to mail.
Well, here's what I would share from being a mortgage broker Anybody see the Enron messages? Like burn, baby, burn, right? Grandma's house when there's the wildfires. Like, so there's all these messages. And why? Because there's an ecosystem in which the norms were that everybody was acting in this way and this was normal. When I was a mortgage broker, right, I worked for a firm that had 200 agents. Only 5 of us were licensed. I saw fraudulent activity on a daily basis. It was fairly normal. People communicated on that, right? Because what would happen? And afterwards, those people got prosecuted. Like, so I just because other people are doing it, this is, I mean, be aware, like, somebody is going to get caught. And if you don't have the resources to pay those fines, I have friends that have paid millions of dollars in fines. Keller Williams has had to pay millions of dollars in fines. We can go deep on this afterwards. There are examples of attorneys like actively researching class action lawsuits if you're doing some sort of robo-texting. And if you are having a text, like what it should look like is when you sign up to Pizza Hut and you get that opt-in language and all that, it really is like a double opt-in if you're even text messaging your own list, right? For us to text all you guys, I should have like a disclaimer and have more of that stuff for us to be doing it successfully. So just do your research on that, especially with cold texting, because the fact that it is so easy to send out thousands of those means that it's easy for you to get like
pinched. My God.
Yes, that's the difference, right? That's why when I do cold call, I don't leave recorded messages when I'm dialing people, because right that's the thing of okay, great, I left the same message for 7 people. Really easy to just put it in a gift wrap of like, here's me using some sort of automated service.
An attorney at that point.
Yep.
Kathy.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Of course.
So if you have a CRM, that's really not cold calling or cold texting, correct? Because they are coming on to your platform and looking at your websites and stuff. So it's automatically, if they sign into our Boomtown, then we automatically text them.
That's them giving you permission.
Yeah.
That's what they said. That's
depends
not
on
a
the way-
cold call.
No.
Because they came onto our site, right?
If they're asking for information, it's going to depend on how you put that in there. It's going to depend on some specific language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But if you read like the Can-Spam Act, it is very, very vague, and it says anything that's like, you could even argue that Google Voice is in violation of the Can-Spam Act because you're creating that thing electronically. I could nerd out on this. This is just, do not take my advice on this. This is just my personal thoughts from being an ISA and doing, I've called tens of thousands of people over the years. So just, right, that's all I did for 14 months was just call for 8 hours a day for a team that had 10,000 person database.
Yeah, you got the experience in it.
So let's move on there.
What you actually know, man. I mean, this is kind of your shine. The second step 2 of this is just
build your
networking, which is really, man, that's
so let's talk about that. Right. So what is networking, right? Networking for me is how do I come from value? And I think Charles is a great example, right? I came onto his platform yesterday. He was really excited to see us. We didn't know how to read a calendar, so there was a long time. We were on the same night, and then we moved it so we could actually go to both, right? And Charles was like, yeah, and he was like, hey, great, welcome. Let me introduce you around. Who do you need to know, right? So it's coming from contribution, and the biggest advice I can give from networking is we can all smell when someone is like just very transactional.
Oh yeah.
Don't be transactional. No one likes that person. They're not going to make money in the long term. This is a very small town, right? So it's basically, it's the go-giver, right? Like, what's my business? What I want to do is come from contribution, and I want to make it very clear how to reward me, right? And you can do that in lots of ways. You've probably been doing it in your personal life. Anybody knows somebody that you can think of that's got a very distinct taste? I used to have a friend, Tut, he passed away. Tut loved the color green, he loved Adidas, he loved Mickey Mouse. Tut got more gifts than anyone I knew. Because it was very easy when you were out to just be like, oh, yeah, I know you want these shell toes. Like, I bought them for you, give them back, like, right? So making it very clear, like, how do you reward me? Like, what business am I in? So anybody can think of an example, whether it's pharmaceutical sales or some sort of rep that goes business to business that you've dealt with before, that you've had a positive experience with? Anybody had a good experience with any vendor relationship in their life?
Every single IT vendor that comes in to our company, they'll take you out to lunch. They want your business. They're going to talk about their product.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a very interesting conversation usually.
Have you had any that are really cool?
Yeah, no, there's been plenty of cool ones.
Awesome, right? So like I have some too. We have like a title rep or something like that. We have people that are due, and what they do consistently is like, hey, here's who I am and here's what I do. I'm a home warranty rep. If you need a home warranty, call me. And then they show up all the time and they're making connections and but like, oh, when I need a home warranty, I do that,
That's my
right?
person, yep.
That's my person. Chris is a great resource, right? Chris is a private money lender, right? You can call Chris about lots of other things. Same thing. Jesse just said he's great at structuring deals. I think he said basically call me and I'll happy to look at deals for you.
Underwrite it.
And then, hey, I'm a property manager. When you need property management help, you know what I do, like naturally. You can call me all day long and never have property management because it's fine. Someone in your network, it all comes back.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So it's really being clear on how do I get rewarded? How do I go attend events? And I call it fiduciary friendship. And this is something, if I'm being candid, I think I do at a high level. Actually, I'm not being, I know I do this at a high level, like nationally, right? I have an insane network nationally, and we've been able to bring some national level speakers here and put on an entire conference, and they all came in on their own dime because of friendships that I built. And really what it looks like is I went to real estate conferences and I heard some coaches, and I was like, okay, no one knows they're coaches. There's 20,000 people, they're just walking around, and they're like, hey, Ken, what's going on in your business? How can I help you? I was like, that's a great question. I don't know what to say to these people. This is weird, right? I don't want to talk about, I'm not a big deal at all. I'm from Knoxville. I don't sell a lot of real estate. Cory's more successful than me, right? Like, this is not like, so what do I do? Well, I'm really interested in what's going on in them. And then I've got a great brain. I've been doing this a long time, so I know who to go to, and I know who the solutions are, and I know how this stuff works together. That I do know at a high level. I got a lot of knowledge. I love talking about this stuff. So, hey, so who do you want to meet? Like, what's going on in your business? I call it fiduciary friendships. I got to ask you enough questions to really understand what you're doing, and then have that radar of like, okay, great. Property manager, who could sync together? How can I give you some advice? And I think that's a foolproof method for networking, is just being interested in other people. When other people are talking, right? If me and you are having a conversation, what's happening is when you're talking, you're building rapport. When I sit up here and I talk to all of you, it does not build rapport because it's a one-way conversation, right? When I ask Jason about what's going on with him or what's going on with his son, and he's telling me all about his son, just absolutely deking him in soccer. Just going right through the 5-hole, right? Then he's building rapport because he's talking about himself, which is all of our favorite topic, right? Is what are you passionate about? What's going on in your life? Taking a personal interest, because honestly, everyone wants more friends. There's research on this, so go read Bowling Alone. You can read The Lonely Crowd in the 1950s. This has been tracking since the invention of the suburbs. When we broke up, like if you go all the way back, they talk about cornerstone versus capstone relationships. So if you go back to like the 30s, 40s, when people were living like urban areas, you would marry somebody on your block. You would marry someone in the same building as you. And you'd marry them in the 20s and you'd build a life together, and you would just know that all boys are dumb. So I'm gonna stick with my dumb boy, right? Because your dumb boy is equally dumb, right? And we've moved to like capstone relationships where we get married in our 30s and we're looking for people, right, who are successful, and it's more brittle. Going back, we see this decline in relationships. And what the social science tells us is that we all wanna have closer relationships and deeper relationships. What COVID showed us was what happens with tertiary relationships, weak relationships like this, right? Hey, I go to Grid every day and I see the same people and like, oh man, I always have a good interaction with Khalil. Charles is cool. Like I forgot how much, I like seeing Dion or Jeremiah. So when I was going, we were lucky, but lots of places in the country, the guy you see at the coffee shop or at the dog park simultaneously, that's what makes you feel like you have a community, and that's what makes you feel like a tribe. So when you're going out and talking to your database, what would it look like if you just talked to the people in your community 4 times a year, you took an interest in what was going on with them, you made some connections within there, provided some resources, hey, this is going on, added something of value, had the law of reciprocity come around, do you think like your year would be better, right? Whether or not you make some money, would that be a cool year? Are you gonna enjoy yourself? Are you gonna feel like you added value? Yeah, so you're gonna feel confident about talking to strangers. That's how you go build a network, right, successfully. And then you have to go have some items of value, and I provide some expert information. But I think if you just adopt that mindset of like, how do I add that value? That's how you're intentional about being a nice person is like, I'm actively doing this, and then we're creating things like this where I'm gonna see you. You don't have to create your own. Borrow platforms. This is a platform, I see lots of people here, right? Jason invited Justin, like, because we said, borrow our platform. More in the room, it's better for everybody, right? Tomorrow night, we started a nonprofit called Pints for Purpose. It is a 501c3. It is totally unbranded. All the money that gets raised gets passed on. That is a free networking event to meet people with like-minded individuals that care about our community. So if you can't get people to come out with dogs and beer, then sales and marketing might be kind of challenging.
Yeah.
But we did that deliberately because I ran a young professionals organization here. I just stepped down. And we launched Grid. So we've been doing this for 2 years. We launched this
2 years now.
2 years ago in June of 2021.
Yep.
Right? And Cory is incredible. He's let me talk about this. Cory's incredible at this on a local networking level. So what did you do on the restaurant level?
Yeah, that was always, because I was essentially in my own bubble of a restaurant, I had to do it with people that were coming to me and sitting at the bar. And then it became, so-and-so needs this contract. You know, you're small talk when I'm a restaurant manager walking around just kind of chatting with customers. And then you realize you're talking with UPS guy Dave, and Dave's talking about, dude, my roof just started leaking, whatever, he's got some issue. And then at the other end of the bar is one of roofing contractor who comes in like all the time. And then it just became a game of, oh, like Dave, meet John. John, you two, here's a beer on the house, go talk and be merry. And it was really fun just to play that connector role, because the restaurant was that hub in the community that people were just coming after work to hang out on weekends, etc. And then it was fun for me to go play that connector there at that like hyper local level. I just couldn't get out into the community as much. It was just as the community came to me, I was able to kind of connect everybody.
But you did do some prospecting, because what Cory realized is, like, so little league teams and schools are great niches, right? Why? Because they all go out to celebrate.
Because they all got to go out and do stuff. So
after the game.
I would reach out intentionally to like all the principals at all like the elementary schools like around us, right? The guys at like the local fire department right around the corner, because then they all have families and things. So that was my like outbound marketing, doing charity events, putting on, probably one of my favorite ones we did was a 5K run in the park that we paired with like a dog adoption, and then the restaurant sponsored, hey, if you adopted one of the dogs that like say the sheriff's department brings out, we would cover that adoption fee, and then you could check the dog out and go run trails and stuff like that. And so that was our ways of like prospecting and getting out into the community more and more. We'll kind of tap into some of the marketing aspects of it here
so
soon that we're able to use, right? This kind of example, we would do like our Shark Week every week is our big, like one of our big sponsorship things every month. That I was able to do, just get out there. I'm a big fan of ripping off movies, I'm not gonna lie. So when it comes to this kind of thing. Like,
what do you think of, what's the brand for Long Doggers, if you have to guess based off of this and based off of knowing Cory? Throw some things out that are seeing there. Is the brand family friendly?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Community hub? Yeah. Awesome. What else? What else shows out of you?
Drinker friendly?
Yeah, it's fun.
Fun? Yeah. It's a neighborhood watering hole. Cheers, everyone knows your name.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you're using branding like to advance marketing.
Yeah.
Let's get back over that
So
one.
one of my favorite ones, like I've used recently here, is like, right, you can have fun with this. Like I said, I'm a fan of ripping off movies, but like you can put stuff together to throw out there. Like, is your home a Titanic pain in the ass? Like, call me, right? I'll buy it.
Why didn't you put your back on the guy?
You know, I don't know. Leo looks nice. It's all good.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Wait, was that a veil or?
This is like stuff that I just honestly mess around like midnight bored. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I know my Photoshop skills are a little like subpar, but we're working at it.
How many of y'all are doing cheesy social media posts? Because Rudyard Kipling would say it's the man in the arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see your dorky posts. Yes.
It's really just about like creating something, just creating activity that's going to create some engagement out of there that you can kind of put out there. So like I said, I'm a fan of always like just ripping off stuff people are already kind of familiar with that they can then identify with a little bit and have a little fun with overall.
Can we break this down really fast?
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally.
Do you guys know Don Miller? Anybody know Don Miller and Story? I can't think of his name. You're seeing this guy, he talks about the hero's journey, right? So we're talking about marketing and we're talking about narrative. It's how do you take your client on an emotional journey? So we're talking about the hero's journey, so you want to go read that. You want to read Joseph Campbell and The Power of Myth, right? And if you don't think narrative is important, then why is Netflix and why are the Hollywood studios worth so much? Why is Marvel worth so much? That's all intellectual property. It's based around narrative and storytelling, right? So it is just what he would say on this one. Although I love the fact that you're Kate Winslet in here because I do think that's appropriate.
Pay me like one of your French girls.
Yeah, I think that's. But you'd want to be taking your client on the journey, right? They said the way that you do this correctly is you take your client on the hero's journey and you're in the role of the sage. So you're Gandalf, you're Yoda. Like that's where you are. You don't change. The client changes on this journey, right? The client is dealing with the Titanic pain in the ass, you know, and you're going to, I've never seen Titanic, but I know enough about it. Like, because I might resent Leo. Well, she doesn't. She doesn't. Yeah, so you're going to take her on the journey to the door, right? And then you're just going to let her just go off because it doesn't matter if you have enough room on the door, right? I'm taking my client on that journey, on the marketing journey, right? So everyone here, you are a problem solver, and if you do this effectively, people will call you, ask you to buy their houses cash, will celebrate the amount of money that you made, and thank you. I still get messages. Angie just sent me another. I was quoting her today. I sent that one to you, right?
No, I hadn't seen that.
Oh, so we had a client, we sold this place on Ashland, and she asked us to come buy it cash because she wanted to move to Myrtle Beach. And she is every day posting, like living her best life in Myrtle Beach. And she's like, I hope you make a ton of cash. I need this much money. If you just give this to me, I just want to go. I'm done. I do not want to clean this up. I do not want to sell it, right? And she knows exactly how much money she made, and she reaches out to me at like Christmas to thank me for buying the house. Like that's our avatar. So how do we market to them?
Yeah, so that's the power of it. I mean, the next end of it, right, just becomes like starting to nurture and grow in that database overall. Yep. Certainly, it starts off with just incubating your database, regularly engaging with your people, right? That's where Justin talked a little bit before about reaching out to people on somewhat of like a quarterly basis.
Does everyone have a database in here? Does anybody not have a database in here? It's cool if you're not. I love the honesty.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
So what does, when you say database, right?
Yeah.
Is this like your group of friends or people you got in contact with?
Great question. If you've got a phone, right? Go to your contacts, you have a database. You've got a list of people that have given you, right, their contact information. Yes. Be more specifically though, like, do I have a database would just be like, what's the quality of that, right, Cory? We can go nerd out on that, but really it is just like, who is the database of people? I would not limit it just to people that are interested in your service.
Yeah.
I really
say anybody that you've ever contacted or communicated with in some way.
That UPS guy you were telling me about?
Yeah, Dave.
May never, but he'd be like the best person to be in the database, right? He's out in the community all day long. Yeah, he knows everybody. Women swoon when they see his calves, right? You would want to have Dave, the UPS guy, in your database.
Absolutely.
So it's just everyone that you know who knows I can trust you.
As much as you may laugh about that, FedEx, my brother-in-law is FedEx, and he has a reporting line that he can report drug houses. So your FedEx and UPS guy may actually have a good idea of houses in certain neighborhoods that look bad, that are trash, or he suspects it's a drug house because there's certain activities that they've been told to look for that they then report to the sheriff or report to local authorities. I was flabbergasted when he told me that.
Absolutely. I love like Uber drivers, DoorDash drivers, big fans of all them. From my background in hospitality, like I love those kind of people, and those are great people to communicate with because they're literally on the road all day, every day, going to all different houses, things like that. And I have a handful of them that I'll get together with. Like once a month, we'll go out and get a beer, get lunch or something like that. And it's very much just, hey, anytime you see something that just looks like crap, take a picture of it, write down the address, and like shoot it over to me. Cool. I just create like a little network of little bird dogs that all they do is just drive around and do their thing, and then just send me pictures of trashed houses.
Most people, if you're an agent, would not think to invite a room that's half full of agents, right? And yet, what happens is their agents do not want to deal with investors, and they send us deals.
Yeah.
Or there are agents that want to learn, right, how to invest, and we want to help them learn how to invest because we care about them. I would argue if you're invested in other people, everyone's in your database. If you're just focused on how can I come from contribution, right? Because that's you cannot lose that game. of how can I be the nicest person in there, provided I've got some sort of marketing and prospecting that's regularly reminding you what I do and how to reward me, making it very clear, right? That's why at the beginning of this, we say, here's who we are and what we're looking for, and at the end, we're gonna say, here's how you connect with us and stay in touch. And the rest of it is just, how can we help you? Model that. So what do you look like when you're doing, like, what's the next step? I have some kind of a database.
Have a
Cory.
database.
Like, what's practically in 2023? Am I like mailing out postcards that say like turn your clocks back? Am I sending fridge magnets? Like, what am I doing to stay in touch
No,
with these people?
I think certainly like, we live in very much like a digital age. So like your digital content, I mean, even just reminding people on like a Facebook post, here's what I am, here's what I do, is just going to consistently like refresh in there. I'm a big fan of like a handwritten note on a semi like regular basis, make it like a nice little handwritten note in the mail, just as a reminder. Again, something to just keep you top of mind and engage with somebody is whatever you can kind of do in that space, whether that is social media. I'm a big fan of like birthdays as well. So some of you might have gotten like a Facebook video birthday message from me.
There's a service that we use called Send Out Cards.
Yep.
And you can actually create a card, and what I do, like one of my clients, their dog died. So I went on their Facebook page, I copied the picture of their dog, I put their dog on the front, a picture of her and her dog on the inside, and then wrote, sorry, your dog passed away. She put that on Facebook, said I had the greatest realtor, and that was not my intentions whatsoever, but something simple like that does go a long way.
Who in here thinks that investing is like a net positive for the community? Yeah? Why? What's useful to the community about investing? You mean you're not just taking advantage of people? Like why? What's good about investing?
Because more than likely you're buying the home that's the worst in the neighborhood and making it look like the best.
Awesome. That's a great story. Can you create some digital content around that? Who else?
For land, we build developments which bring more opportunity for more people to live in a certain community.
Yeah, I love it. Who else?
So actually, recently, my last house that I got under contract, she got it from her grandfather like 20 years ago, and she has cancer. So it was pretty cool to like be like, hey, like I can give you this much for your house. I actually took some off my assignment fee that I was going to make to give this lady more cash, and it was really cool. I mean,
because money's good for the good that it can do,
money's
right?
good, yeah. I mean, like imagine what she can do with like the property for like 150 grand. You know what I mean? Like that's a life-changing amount of money for a woman that has cancer.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like what you said with your story about that lady that went down to Florida. You know what I mean? She's gonna be able to live the best life.
Yeah. So when you're creating marketing, keep this in mind. First of all, everyone that attends here should create a piece of marketing. Take a picture. There's a packed room full of people. This is powerful. And why are you here? And it's not like no one cares you just sold a property. No one cares you just acquired a property. Like, why is that important to them? Hey, I'm excited we're fixing up another one. I love improving communities. Hey, I came out today and I wanted to learn about investing because I want to tell other people, like, come on this journey with me, right? Hey, I was out here prospecting and networking. Like, that's the story that you tell. Like, so tell that story, right? Take a selfie, whatever, grab one here in the middle. Actually, I'm about to take a picture right here while we're doing this, Cory. You can take over.
Yeah, totally.
But that's my biggest advice. If you're a realtor or you're attending this kind of training, post about it, but always make it clear, like, how does it benefit your potential client?
Your potential person.
If you don't do that, it just looks like, I don't know, my realtor loves taking vacations and getting drunk with agents. Which is probably accurate, but I'm doing it for you.
Yeah, I mean, in doing enough of that like consistently, right, is going to create that engagement, and that's going to give you the opportunity to create the opportunities, nurture those, and then ultimately convert those opportunities over to some kind of business.
Okay. All right.
Right. So it's really just in that steps of like incubating and like nurturing your people, right? Creating consistent marketing and branding around that's just going to keep that impression in their mind. That's going to give you the opportunity to then later convert those opportunities when they do present themselves. Because I've often found that I can't really do too much to like Jedi mind trick somebody into doing something that they don't ultimately want to do. Right? Life is like a natural funnel, and in that, if I can just be the most like helpful and giving and just prepared, life will sort itself out, and hopefully they'll remember me as like, hey, Cory, nice guy, real estate. I will totally do business with Cory. Why wouldn't I do it? Sales is like incidental. That was the phrase we had recently.
And tell the story.
Yeah.
Right? Not everyone is going to read it, but think about this. If When's the last time that most of you that are not egomaniacs, like, no, but they don't run like a group, got to tell a story to 30 people at the same time? Does that happen often? We have 30 people listening to you? But when I go and I share a story on Instagram or something and like 25 people watch it, I was like, oh, this is terrible. These aren't numbers. If 20 people that know, like, and trust you actually listen to what you're saying for 60 seconds, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They probably don't want to hear this story when you're all hanging out on Easter Sunday, but they will go and read it when there's doom scrolling, right? Oh, wow, I had no idea. And what you're going to find is no one will respond for like a year. And then your cousin will be like, oh, I've been watching everything you do. I watch it every single time. It's amazing. And you're like, cool, I do this into the void sometimes.
Yeah.
And it is really weird to be like taking pictures of myself,
Yeah.
you know, like.
It's a compounding effect, and it is something that like does circle back on there. I had a gal hit me up at 9 o'clock last night that I last engaged with even. So I've texted just September 13th of like last year. And it was just like, hey, haven't heard from you, this and that. And don't want to be a pest. Right? Just let me know the best way to follow up. And it was just crickets after that. And then like 9 o'clock last night, get a little message. Crazy.
Video messages, couple things. Canva posts get suppressed by Facebook. They're actively looking for it. They're actively suppressing it because you look like a business, right? And they want you to pay for that engagement. What will get the most engagement is having a photo, preferably a photo of yourself, right? We're obsessed with faces.
Yeah, they love
Think
selfies.
Nick Jr., the giant face. Like, humans gravitate towards those, right? And then using a caption to like tell that story, like making it very, very clear. Cool.
The last E just kind of goes into to empowering your community, right? And that kind of starts oftentimes with just education. I mean, certainly events like this, but you all have something to be able to give to your respective like databases. And so just being that source of value, source of education to them will inevitably return on itself.
Yes. Self-esteem is based upon esteemable actions. That's what Nathaniel Brandon said when he wrote The Pillars of Self-Esteem. So yeah, like how am I coming from contribution and how am I coming in a way that internally, right, feels like I'm coming from contribution. If you do that, you will become, because your job is to go, we already did this last time, so go watch How to Identify Motivated Sellers. It's to uncover problems and then to solve problems. That's it. Like Charles was saying, right? I go talk to the resource officers and they like, please, yes, find someone to go buy this house because we're sick of having a trap house in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, you got certainly attending local events, right?
Yes.
And things like this, going to our Pints event tomorrow, great opportunities, invite your people out there. I mean, you're right, that's a free platform for anybody to use. And yeah, if you can't sell dogs.
And I've been doing this forever. Remember Sundown in the City? Remember Farragut back in the day when no one would go downtown because it was scary? Because there was homeless people on the 100 block. You couldn't get them to go to Sundown in the City. And then all their dumb kids came down there and they started underage drinking and we can't have it anymore. I do. Pepperidge Farm remembers. But I remember waiting tables in 05 at Bravo, and I would tell every single person about this thing, because I've always been an evangelist. I get excited about this stuff. You can add a ton of value just telling strangers about things. I wish it was more complicated. Most of what we do as realtors and investors is pretty commonsensical, right? Just who has the most conversations wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And just engaging with local businesses. That's a huge one.
Charles, what made you want to start this Sono group? Because I love that you were telling us the story of the Southside Garage.
Yeah.
So what made you start that group and get involved like in your community?
So I only had one property at the time. My parents had a few houses that we had renovated ourselves, and I didn't know anybody. So I wanted to meet people, so I started a Facebook group, and then it was 3 of us. It was in the middle of 2020, and then we had some tough times, and then just grew into what it is. People want to be around people who are either starting or have a lot of knowledge like you guys, and you can always get something from somebody. So I needed a network, so I didn't know. I tried to do the RIA thing and didn't want to pay for it.
Yep.
And then I was like, well, I'd like to stay in my own neighborhood. There's not one here, so I did it there. So Powell Halls, they don't have anywhere. You guys are serving this area, so I think there could be more.
There 100% can be more. Like you're here, we're gonna move locations in June. Guys, we're gonna go to Foundation Mortgage, has a bigger space. They're over on North Shore in that business park right in between Kroger and
It's like across from that Kroger Plaza right there, like Pellissippi and North
Yes.
Shore.
I was there earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was wondering where everyone else was.
He is so prepared.
Yeah.
He went to scout the location 60 days earlier. Get you a lender that will do that for you. We'll be able to seat. Everyone will have seats.
Yeah.
So they won't be standing in the hallway. And, you know, I don't know why I was bringing this up. We're moving locations. There's a reason for it. I don't know.
Well, it's all just. We talked about just there's more space.
Oh, so the story for that, and then Jason and Yvette are going to be starting a space, which I think should be here. Starting a meeting, which should be here. You get more when you actually have more competition. There's an economics podcast, Planet Money, that talks about this. Well, more vendors. More
I promote
vendors.
you guys on my group.
Oh, yeah.
Richard, and now that I'm meeting you, I'll definitely be promoting yours. If you haven't sent one already, Knoxville Real Estate Investors Group. Have you ever sent anything?
No. I'm gonna hold that. You guys can grab that afterwards. Planet Money is a great podcast on money. Started during the last crash. I learned a lot of things about basic economics from them. And they did a study talking about like the flower markets in New York City, where like in New York City, you think it'd be crazy. You go to the street and it is nothing but flower vendors, and they actually all make more money rather than less, because the fact that there's so many of them attracts more people. It's why vintage markets work. It's why some of these other concepts work. So, what?
It's why a mall works.
Sure.
People go to the mall.
Yeah, there's collective power. So,
Yeah, but that leaves us in a spot, right? Just by following these kind of steps, we call that like that zone marking. Just gives you an area to really focus and highly target, to then go out and start your marketing machine. That's just going to lead to that consistent, predictable income.
Tons of data on what we just ran through. We try to explain this in a very, like, we can nerd out on this. Like, there is tons of real estate data that's totally based around this, of just like how many prospects, how many conversations you have to have, how many touches you have to convert to business. So if you just do this organically, if you follow that zone system, that will work. That's how the founder of Grid built a $160 million team. Pulls $1 million a year out of his Grid chapter just by providing value. And he's got Grid chapters in 32 cities, just following this same exact system of, hey, what's my avatar? How am I going to own that mind share, right? How do we build a network around it?
And then just engage that just consistently, like working through it, educating.
And honestly, guys, it really is like borrow people's platforms. You do not collaborate. Jump on Instagram with each other. Like, you do not have to do this alone. If the biggest problem you have is how do we split up this business that we generated together, we're all going to be okay.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome. It is. We went way past
About
time,
8 o'clock.
so I appreciate everyone staying here.
Yeah.
It is 8 p.m. So if anyone needs to jet, get home
Cool.
to the babysitter, cool. Questions, ahas, insights. Listen, takeaways. Anybody get any value out of today?
Yes.
Great. So maybe, what are you going to ask us when we get out there? That we can all learn together?
Where do you find the code violation list for Knoxville?
Code violation list. I just know it's from the city. I have not pulled it. I can help you figure that out though, Joel, if we can, like tomorrow or Friday. Okay, cool.
Look up Google and look up syntaxes on Google, and then there's one that's -site. So look up code violations -site and whatever the Knoxville code site is, and the Google spiders have probably already found it for you.
Awesome. And Nick can explain that again afterwards, and we can pull it up here when the meeting's over.
Yeah.
No, really, because
Yeah,
it's
for real.
good.
No, it's Google is your friend.
Nikita.
Who meets for the code violations?
Yes. If you don't know Nikita is an incredible resource.
Incredible resource.
Right? So Nikita is very active in East Knoxville. And Nikita started a nonprofit called Don't Sell Grandma's House, right? And Nikita is an investor herself. And
Love it.
yes, anybody else? Give me 2 more ahas. Make Cory happy.
I learned that I can harass the FedEx guy. There's more FedEx guys who get
Shake
fired.
down your mailman.
Couldn't get on my
I like that.
That's a good one, man. That's this creative one. I like that.
I like the.
FedEx guy's gonna hate it though.
How do you plan on harassing him?
I've heard that you can't know everything. You know, there's always something new to learn.
Yes.
And I was just asking everyone. We're just hearing everyone's thoughts. There's something new to learn.
Any questions on branding, marketing? Anyone questioning how this applies to their individual business? No? We good?
Do you guys have any recommendations on books or resources on creating your own brand?
Wow, yes. Very, very long list. Cory has coached with Jessica Swingle. That runs, so we'll give you her information. That runs all the branding for Grid. She's an expert on branding. Okay. There are some other really good YouTube accounts that I think are experts on branding. There's some really good exercises. There's a couple books that I use. That I'll think about. There's a copywriting handbook that I got from Adweek, and there's another. I'll think of the two of them that I use for copy. Basically, what I look for on this stuff is I don't go niche. If I want to go to branding, I'm going to go for the best branding expert. It's not niche specific, right? Yeah. So I taught myself how to do a SWOT analysis. I was like, what do marketing companies do? Oh, they do a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and target analysis. I can learn how to do that and fake my way through owning a marketing company, right? Anybody have any resources on branding that you like a lot? There's a couple
Talk to like a marketing manager. Marketing manager? Because I work with one, and they run all of my TV and just my TV and my Facebook pay-per-click ads. And this lady's insanely good at her job. So find somebody that does exactly that and does it for a living. That would be my move.
The other thing, I'll come to you right there in a second, would be get clarity on your avatar. Probably your avatar often is someone like us. Or who's my avatar, meaning who's my ideal client? What do they do? Where do they shop? Where do they go? Where would I find my ideal avatar? If it's a distressed homeowner, it might be a different kind of avatar. What are they doing? Where are they shopping? Where could I go to meet those people, right? If I wanted to go meet buyers in the South, I might go to the Southside Farmers Market. I might go to that farmers market on the East Side and meet people in the community. That might be how I form relationships if I want to go invest because I want to build relationships within the community.
Locally.
Yes.
There's a guy, Joe Ignatz, that does podcasts and branding. He'll gladly sit down with you at a coffee shop and discuss very briefly, and then if you want to continue from there, you can.
Awesome. So, cool. We're gonna hang around. We're gonna network. It's 8:01, so I appreciate everyone's patience in going a little long. Cory, how do they connect with us?
Sorry.
We want to thank Approach Lending. We want to make Admiral. What's the last one here?
No, yeah, we just want to thank all of our vendors. We want to thank Admiral Title. We want to thank Approach Lending for hooking us up here. Make sure you go in, find us on a Meetup, meetup.com. There you can register for our next event. That's going to be how to estimate renovations, analyze costs, minimize your mistakes. Big one, right? Once you kind of found the deal, how do I calculate how much is this going to cost me? Trust me, I just learned a hard lesson.
Jake, can you stop the
recording?
Right. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.